I love you, smile. I love you, smile. Why don't you smile? We've been thinking about some positive changes. We need some positive changes. Thinking about some positive. Let us beware of false prophet, for they shall come in a sheep clothing, but beneath them are marvelous wolves. So watch them green snake in a green grass. Why tell them say, some are vampires, some are hooligans, some are kleptomanians, some are idolaters, some are vampires, all are vampires, some are hooligans, some are kleptomanians, some are idolaters. Don't you smile, smile, I make you smile, I want you smile. We've been thinking about some positive changes. We need some positive changes. Thinking about some positive.
And now today's host, Imam Ezekiel Pasha.
Welcome to the Thinker Radio Magazine broadcast. Assalamu alaikum, dear listening audience. We're here today with our host, Imam Ezekiel Muhammad Pasha, who is Imam of the historic Masjid Mount Shabazz, as well as the publisher and editor of the Thinker Radio newspaper magazine. And he has a number of other things that he's done in this country and throughout the world. And we're here with him today. We want to get right into our program and be able to benefit from his thinking. Brother Imam, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Tariq and Brother Philip, and alhamdulillah, praise be to God. We praise God, we witness that God is one, having no associates or partners, is God alone. And we witness to our beloved Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and the peace be upon him, Allah's servant and messenger, and the mercy to all of humanity, and all who will follow that traditional salute to our beloved Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and peace be upon him. Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to again join you in the Thinker Radio magazine. And also, as you might be aware, we have been able to begin to have our Thinker newspaper back out again, and we encourage you to order your subscriptions for it. And we are working also to engage in taking the paper into ability to be able to pull it up on your tablet and other ways too. And also we are soon we'll be having our own broadcast on YouTube, and will be the Thinker Media, and we will watch the broadcast that on both the Facebook that we're on now, and also our YouTube channel called the Thinker broadcast. In engaging that, we were asked with the team that's helping us, Brother Bashir Ansari, Imam Fadri Ansari's son, and Brother Philip Glenn, who we're working with the technology on while we're doing this at the same time, be able to be on the YouTube channel at the same time. And we're going to try to change it up a little bit, since we can still have a stage and have more guests come in to talk about, all of the activities and things that are going on. And that's our hope, to be able to do it that way. And they had he had put some questions to that's required to the description of the Thinker Media YouTube channel, Brother Bashir. So my daughter came to me with it, and I told her, well, they say you need to put something on there. I guess like credits, and we should start even now here. We used to put the name across the board so people would know who's what and etc. And glad to see Brother Tariq back, feeling better. So alhamdulillah for that, and we'll have you consistent. But when they asked about you, say what about the Thinker in terms of what our intents are, and I just added to what we have in the paper, and I just said the awakening of humanity is what we the Think is about, and certainly the the discussions that we hope to have, and I also have what we have in the paper, that nothing herein is intended to offend any group or persons, and we just ask you to think about it and do not take it personal. That's in the paper itself. Yeah. But also I added a caveat that I think it's going to get some attention, but I think it is befitting for the time we're looking in. And I mentioned that they asked, what's the description? What was your intent? And I said, to help the masses, not be asses. So that was my additional part that I made, and then as we said, we don't intend to offend you or nothing like that, but just addressing the environment in which the world is in. That people are just, humanity is just in loss, and I kind of took that from an older lady that I heard one time on a radio show, and she was so upset that she called into the show, and it was insane, the things that were being said and the topic that was going on, and I have to tune into it at that particular time, and I could hear the insanity of what they was dealing with and how they were dealing with it. And she got to it and she says, "Didn't I tell you the masses ain't nothing but a bunch of asses?" And I thought that was very humorous in terms, but it was accurate.
Right.
It was accurate based on what they were dealing with and what they were giving a whole lot of time to in terms of importance, and it wasn't. So I said, well, we're going to help the masses, not be asses, God willing, and have you think about it. So yes, inshallah, with the good spirit of that, we're glad to again be with you, and hopefully, God willing, our discussion today, our need is to give good and nothing but good. And as Brother Tariq recently reminded me again, we don't have any of this without the life of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and peace be upon him. What God favored him with, his life living before being missioned as a prophet. And we are clear on our religion, al-Islam, today with such clear focus because of the great sacrifice and dedication of the son of the Honorable Elijah and Claire Muhammad, their work, and their son, Imam W.D. Muhammad, our leader, follower of Muhammad the Prophet. And we're grateful for their souls and their spirit that continues to help us and guide us in their works. And we thank God for their life and pray God will continue to elevate them in the life after here, that we all look forward to joining them in this good work. So, alhamdulillah. Tariq.
Yes, Brother Imam, of course you're always the head. I had to think a newspaper.
Alhamdulillah.
Talk about it, but you brought it up. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to also just indicate we'll be trying to look forward to having our people, brothers and sisters in the orientation class, take a more active role in the distribution of those.
Allahu Akbar.
I think those young brothers and sisters right there would be where we used to take them before. If afterwards you get in the car, we can go drop them, have to make sure they're out there.
Allahu Akbar.
We want it out there, inshallah. But I mean, I may have covered last week, you and Philip, but you talked about the convention because I wasn't able to go, but I was able to tune in.
Allahu Akbar.
Praise be to Allah. It was really great tuning into it because I was able to get the Jummah, and then of course the culture night. I didn't get to the shops, the workshops, and then of course for the Sunday I was able to get what I thought was the main stuff, and was absolutely coming through. The way it translated was so wonderful.
Alhamdulillah.
I was so appreciative that I was there.
Alhamdulillah.
And could hear it because
by virtue.
Like you said, I was there.
Yeah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
And so praise be to Allah. But just any comments you want to make?
Yeah, well, praise be to Allah. You said, Brother Philip, who was one of the high technicians to make sure you could see it the way you seen it through the virtual connections, him and Brother Bashir, and they did an excellent job, and also Brother Larry, they did an excellent job in presenting that, and the workshops were excellent, and working with the commission or the committee of the members who make up the convention committee, and I believe is this Sunday or next Sunday, I think we have our meeting after the convention where we go over things, and we're looking on how to make available, all of the activities that took place including the roller skating ring and in the whole 9 yards, all of it, because we did capture a lot of it on film. So we're trying to figure out how to be able to give opportunities for folks who want to use it as a fundraiser, who would like to get it in the many different streams in which you can get it in. You know, first thing you think of, we think we're okay, a DVD or something, but nowadays there's other ways to be able to access it. So they're working on that so we can present that. But once again, alhamdulillah, following good leadership, following direction of leadership, trusting the leadership in terms of what he had said to us, that there's things you see, things you don't see, but stay here is important because of the beginning of our life here in terms of coming to the doorway of Al-Islam. And it was just such an enjoyable, as you said, the spirit came through even through visual or virtual, the great workshops with the medical people, Dr. Sister Ansari, Imam Fadri's wife, Sister Ansari, and the two medical doctors in which work under her supervision, and giving us another update from last year's COVID, when it was really hitting hard on the world, and they came through with excellent update and took a lot of questions that people had about the virus and its mutation and things of that nature there, and that was great. And then you had the legal understanding of presentation from Sister Rasul, Aday Rasul, Commission of our Masjid, his wife, who is a judge and a lawyer, lawyer, and she made some real excellent points on looking at the court systems and etc. and the impact that is really having upon our community in particular, but in general, the way those things were. Another great class. And then the youth marriage presentation in terms of the young folks, getting them to engage, to think on where their thinking is on marriage and what have you, and that went well. And then we had the Claremont School, Imam Munir and Brother Aday discussing the importance of the education, which I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like, particularly here, and even I guess it's around the country too, that we are giving the kind of significance to teaching our children and taking the responsibility of having them in an educational environment that will be reflected of the excellent Muslim home life carried out into a school life, which is so important to getting them from the pre-K and beyond that level and bringing them through that, the value of that protects them and prepares them to now, when they go outside into the other environments, how they can stand upon their life guidance, philosophy, and etc., and withstand the influences that are trying to pull them in other ways. So we really got to prioritize, and really I'm getting to the point where demanding that and we know that the first teachers are the mothers. Right. God has designed it that way. The first teachers, the mothers. And God has designed the female to send a signal to her in her very design that He has made you and His greatest of creation, the creation that He is going to give all the responsibility to. He has chosen you to carry that responsibility, and the importance of the home life, and the importance of you in that home life, and we see it in the women whom God gave revelation to, off the cameras. We were mentioning the mother of Musa, Moses, and the mother of Isa, Ibn Maryam, Jesus the Christ, peace be upon the mothers and the prophets and messengers. And we somehow, I remember the days when that was understood, the very value of mother in the home life. And what is mean by that is in the home directly, but in that community. Because her being in that community, she was the watcher. She could see everything. When mothers had that great concern, knowing the threats that are available to their children, and we seem to have willingly been manipulated out of that as a significant part of helping to maintain the consciousness of God in our life and what have you. And they're doing a very evil and wicked job to force the mother in a lot of ways out of the house for economic advantages, because the father, if present, is not able to earn enough to be able to move forward in life and what have you, because he is not able to earn enough based on circumstances that are created that's blocking him, and then forces the mother to leave that sacred sanctuary that God made for her.
Yes.
You know, the sanctuary of the womb of the baby, spending that 9 months there, and the man making sure that environment is an environment of accountability for her and etc. and what have you. It's just so important.
Yes.
And as we know, in our language of the Quran, that mother, Ummi, translated over to Ummah, the community of the Prophet, and etc. So somehow, I'm pleading, man, with the mothers and the sisters of our community that you can no longer stand on the side like this. We need you to step up and take up the role that God has designed. And what God has designed for you is that you are to be the teacher of the greatest of the creation that He made, that's going to be responsible for the creation. And you cannot allow yourself to be pulled away from that great responsibility. And when the mother is pulled away from that responsibility, we see the results in these streets. When mother's no longer there, carrying that guidance that God has given her naturally, and pulls her away from that great dignity and make motherhood like it's a burden or it's some kind of being oppressed, you know, because I can't go to this and that and what have you. You know, it's hurting us.
Yeah.
It's hurting us because it was because of strong mothers in our past, how we survived slavery. We survived slavery because of mother taking her situation, and any great man that we can think of. He became great man because mother was being mother, you know, and father was doing the best he can because he was constantly under attack, in slavery and etc. He was constantly attacked. He was constantly being driven away from his family and etc. and what have you. So mother had God has already designed her that she would be able to protect while he was out doing what he had to do. Even if he was running from slave masters and everything else, sending back what he could send back and etc. Mother knew how to work those nickels and dimes and etc. You know, so we got to get back to that. And like I said, in our time in the early days of Nation of Islam, and the great women and sisters that I knew of that time, Sister Zuhaira Shabazz, Sister Gladys, Sister Dolores, Sister, you know, Nabil, sisters. I mean, so many of them I can't name on them. They had that drive. That, you know, was going to drive that son. You're going to go out there and help your father. You're going to do what's right, and then drive the man too. That you're going to go do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said do. You know, because you ain't going to be up in here like that. You know, and education. We didn't, man. We had full schools because the sisters knew that no. And then we got some Sister Clara Muhammad, the Imam's mother, that determination. That I see what you're doing to the children. I'm not going to send my children to you. I don't care what law you made up. I'm not going to send my children to you to be made indifference to me, to where they disrespect me, they disrespect their father and etc. That's not happening. I'm going to teach them at home, and you try to come get them out this home, and there's going to be a big problem. You know, but we seem to have we're losing that, and that's sacred, and that's the only way we're going to reestablish our lives and make the progress. Is when mothers see home as sacred and not a burden. And then we as men have to make sure that the tools she needs at home, which when I'm saying home, I'm not only talking about the individual home life, apartment, whatever it is, but I'm talking about the home of the school, where that group picture is there, where children have an opportunity to be in an environment for potentially meeting each other, for potential marriages, etc., and what have you. This is a key environment, a platform like that, that's not engaging them as many platforms would do, to violate the sacredness of their life without intentions for marriage and etc. and what have you. And then they talk about so many young ladies and what have you, or young girls having the babies and no husbands and fathers and so forth and so on. So this is very important. And so the Claire Muhammad School presentation, we were begging, and I've been asking for assistance here at the masjid for the sisters to step up and help. But they won't. I can't understand it why, in terms of, but they hesitate and what have you. We have a few great sisters, pioneers, Sister Jean. You cannot ask her for anything that she won't work and do ahead of time, you know. But we don't have that many left, you know. My daughter here, you know, you got Sister Rahima here, but they need help in the offices and the section and what have you. And we're just not finding that spirit, you know. And we don't want you to come if you in a mad state, then you're not going to do us much good. You must be in an Islamic state and what have you. And we need that. So when you mentioned that in terms of the convention, we were pressing forward on that. The importance that mother must become back to mother. Otherwise, we're going to have a hard time and a disaster on our hand. And it's reflecting on our children in the streets, everywhere, and the non-productivity and the things they're going after, because we have not had those great mothers that we should have. It's in them because God put it there, but they have chosen not to access it, and they have prioritized and been made to prioritize other things as a priority in their life, other than the very life that came from their soul, that came from their womb, that came from their flesh of their flesh. So we got to really try to get that picture back and beg them, come back to your good self. Come back to the best self that God has made you. Come back to the importance of what a woman means to the life of a community. You know, we need them back. You know, so inshallah.
Yeah, two things, brother man. One is that you know, we were inspired based on your requests and actually pleaded to people to come to the convention. And of course, we had a sister come from the orientation class.
Oh yeah, great.
Miss.
Yeah.
I was able to hear her, have her make a little presentation to the people. She's so overwhelmed.
Praise be to Allah.
She made point that, you know, you have to see this.
Right.
You know, she did a tour.
Oh
yeah.
She's
telling me, right?
Yeah.
I'm hearing that she did. She said it's just unbelievable. Nothing like it anywhere that you can find any of our people anywhere.
Right.
And she's good representation because it overwhelmed her.
Allah
to the
Akbar.
degree that she's preaching it.
Yeah, Allah Akbar.
Which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah, she took a shahada,
Yeah.
shahadatain, and her spirit of her repeating the words of declaring, I want my life back.
Right.
You know, in the shahadatain, I want my life back, God. I want it back. And to make those two declarations, the witnessing to God and to Muhammad as his messenger, saying, I want my life back. That's what it's saying. And her spirit in doing so, it resonated. That spirit was sent out through everyone present. And we all felt it, you know. And that's where the help is going to come from.
Exactly.
You know, from those who are coming willingly seeking and what have you. It's going to come from them. But at the same time, we have to guard them.
Right.
Because the enemy is at the same door they come at. The enemy is sitting there in that door to persuade them. And when they walk out the door, the enemy is still there persuading them to not accept what we give, that it ain't Islam. Matter of fact, a young brother in the class, last week or week before last, he approached me and he was a little disheartening and saying to me, "Oh, hey, ma'am, you know, he has his hair, his natural hair, but it's braided, and hey, ma'am, you know, I talked to another Muslim brother, and he told me that as long as I had my hair braided like that, that's forbidden, and I wouldn't be a Muslim."
Right.
I said, I told him, I said, well, tell him why he take care of his hair and you take care of yours.
He had me say take.
Take care of his hair, take care of yours. I said, you know, I mean, in Islam, people come, the Prophet didn't demand no things like that on nobody. All they demand is decency.
Right.
That's all. You know, decency, be your best self. That's it. So I said to him, I said, it's not 2 pages, is it? You know what I mean? He said, no, it's my real hair. Oh, okay, you good to go. You know, so even a 2-page. I said,
these other people are consistent.
Right, you know what I'm saying, right. I mean, and again, so it shows how they come at him, you know. No, that's not Islam. So Islam is wearing your pants up certain height and a certain length of beard and a certain color to the beard and this and so on, so on. You know, brother came, in fact, after Jumu'ah yesterday, and came up, and after I was leaving, and he was saying, "Oh, Imam, you know where I can get a prayer rug?" And the brother with me, security, said, "Oh no, you can get right next door. I got a prayer rug." And he said, "Well, I can't even pay for it because I'm homeless." I said, "Well, then you got more priorities than having a rug. You need a home. So why don't you focus on the bigger priority here?" You know, I said, because as long as you got a clean spot to pray and you got a clean undershirt, you can use that to put your head on. So don't make a prayer rug is not the, but that's the kind of thing that they do to sell you some trinkets. You know, that you got to have a prayer rug and what have you. You know, you just need a clean space. You know, and so clean yourself up first and what have you, and find yourself a clean space, man.
It's amazing because the same brother came to me.
Okay.
And I saw him outside before the Jumu'ah.
Oh, okay.
He told me he was hungry.
Right. Okay.
But he went to prayer rug. I said, let us take care of the priority.
Yeah.
Hungry,
Yeah.
Let me take care of that.
Yeah.
Prayer rug, you can come to the class on Sunday. We'll work out.
Right.
I invited him
Well,
Sunday,
but
same brother. But then I saw him run and go get the drug. He got somebody to get him the rug. The other thing, Brother Imam, I want to bring, because you mentioned regarding our young people getting what they need to protect them so that when they go out in the environment, you just mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And there was something that you said a few weeks ago that I'd like to, if you would just address this now and let other people hear it. You made a statement, and we're talking about protecting our young people from what they have to encounter. Mm-hmm. You made a statement that Shaitan, or the devil, has tapped into everything that leads to your ears. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was such a profound statement. Brother and I were kind of having a little debate. He said, you said every venue. I said, you said everything. But same thing.
Right.
We just want to quote it right. But anyway, I can go to the tape for the right quote. Mm-hmm. But anyway, would you just comment on that? That the devil has tapped into every avenue that leads to your ears.
Yes. Appreciating and loving the leadership that we have had and still have in Imam W.D. Muhammad, and his allowing us and bringing us along the road of common sense. And we know that the ears play a very significant role in the life of all creatures, be it in the ocean, be it on the land, be it what flies in the sky, whatever. The ears, because sometimes you may hear something before you even see something, showing the priority of the ear. You may hear something before you even smell something, showing the priority of the ears. And the ears and where they're located at directly as a vehicle into your intelligence or into your soul, into your being. And certainly when Shaitan or Satan begging God for respite, what did he say? I'm going to come at them from every angle. And I'm going to come from the left and from the right. I think it's one of the first presentations he said. And then I'm going to come from the front and the back and so forth and so on. So he was saying, I'm going to come into their ears first. Left and right. He went to my coming at your arms. You know, that ain't what he's coming into your ear, coming into your psychic, coming into your intellect, coming into your that which can perceive things and see things before your eyes do, before your nose snip, before the other sensitivities capture them. The ears pick up the warning and what have you, and then alert the eyes, you know, and alert the feelings and those kind of things. But you hear it first and what have you, and it gets your attention. You hear, bam, you know, what's that? You didn't see nothing. Right. It heard. So the sensitivity of the ear. So I was using it from what the Imam had gave to say today we are well aware of the multiple facets of availability and the misuse of technology, that to the day, if you see 10 young people, 9.5 of them got something in their ear attached to an apparatus in their hand. And I didn't say phone, because now that thing that we call phone has more than a phone to it. When you think of phone, initially you thought of simply communication. You call somebody and that's it. No more. That apparatus delivers all kind of messages into your psychic and send them in there, known to you and unknown to you. You think you're hearing one thing, but within that same tone, that stream, there's something else being said that's bypassing your consciousness. All right. So having to direct it towards the ears was based on that everything, all things now, are coming at you at your ears, because the ears represent actually the first sensitivity or perception before you see it, before you see anything, before you can describe it. It went into your ear. So it's trying to bypass your consciousness and go into your subconscious, plant a seed, and the next thing you know, children walk down the street and they walk in front of a car and walking all kind of thing, because you're walking around and you constantly got something in your ear. And then the sensitivity of even automobiles. And I've seen young folks in the vehicle, windows closed, music up so high, and have something in the ear at the same time. Good God Almighty! I said, if I was going to take up a profession right now, I'll take up an eardrum repairman or something rather than a plumber. You know, if I was going, what's the name? I'd take up this eardrum repairman. You know, because they're going to need some repair to their eardrums in terms of this. And you'd actually see marketing of, hearing aids and what have you. And they ain't saying they try to show us old people, but it's young people that blowing their eardrums out with these kind of apparatuses. So, it was coming from the imam in terms of that. And probably in the context, I don't have the material I was using, but tied into that context in terms of just to give an awakening that, guard against what you let enter your house. There need to be a guardian at the door of your house. And the guardian at the door of your house is your ears. So you should guard against what you let in it, because it's a direct access. Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah. Brother Matt, I wanted to talk about this immigration right now prevalent. Many of the Haitians trying to come in, and of course they showed officers on horses, and treating them really, I don't know if you've seen it, but those...
Yes, you can't miss it. They make sure you see it.
But I wanted to talk about the language that's being used by the politicians, saying that we need to not let them in. This is they were going to replace you. Now, when they showed what the head of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke, said years ago, to put fear that these people are coming to replace you, and they're coming in a little while. You'll be a minority. The purity of white folks will not be there, and you'll be replaced. And so the language replacement was really what I'm bringing about. And one of the journalists who I thought made a great point, he said, they're using that language, and that language is really a very bad language to use. He said replacement is something you do, when you go to a disco when it gets crowded. In order for 4 people to come in, 4 got to go out. So it's replacement.
Okay.
He said in this case, not be in place. If you're a doctor, when all these people come in, you'll be a doctor when they come in. So just the language that they would even suggest, he said, this racist language to say that they're going to replace you is to create the utmost fear. You've mentioned this before. Fear in people that you're going to lose your place as Caucasians or people who are here. So I wanted you to comment on that if you would, because I found it just really this idea that they're presenting to fear, make people fear, and have Europeans, mostly Caucasian, white folks, just up in arms about not having people come in. They also did a study of President Obama and Joe Biden, since he's been President Biden, since he's been in. How many people have been let in the country? Came out 6,300 people. Now that's a drop in the bucket for 330 million that are here.
Right.
But that's just the way they blow it up. So if you would comment on that,
Well, praise be to God. You know, it's that same language you can find in all the scriptures as a tactic of Satan directly. And that language that you're using now, that's happening now in modern time, was the same, created the same mindset that enslaved us for 400 years. So the whole enslavement was about containing us so that the pill that was sold to the Europeans who migrated here from all over Europe to America, and that same language was used to treat the Native Americans the way they were treated also, in terms of a kind of protectionist government, in terms of hold everybody out into a position where they will not be able to ever become the dominant group in the country, because we will hold them in a submissive, an oppressive circumstance. And that's why they say, in terms of the enslavement of the African American, that in the history of mankind there had never been such enslavement of a human being, to create a lasting picture of the African not being human. Therefore, if you can classify and get all to see that they're not human globally, not only just in America but globally, but America took up the real task of the experiment from all the other ones that was tried. They said, we're going to make almost the final solution, as you hear that language mentioned among the Jews of Europe, under the umbrella, mostly known about Hitler, but there was others before that in terms of that. So this language again that has been used a long time back, is not a new strategy to put fear in people that others coming in, that you're going to take a loss of something that you value will no longer will you be able to have access to, and etc., what have you. And they have already set you up to give you values and made it through all of the mechanisms of communication, the ears again, all mechanisms of communications for generations, even through the system called education and what have you, to have you value this so much as a hand-me-down value that anything that looks like going to take that from you, then use whatever means you have to stop it. So the demonization of the Haitian people, the demonization of the Latin community that was coming, trying to get into and what have you, and yet at the same time, God is never absent. And at the same time, when Satan is making plans, Almighty God says, go ahead, plan, but know that I'm the best of planners. And whatever you plan cannot override my plan. So these plans and what have you that were done in ancient times and etc. through different mechanisms, that even at a point we can look back and it wasn't a color conscious in that context, it was European enslaving European.
Right.
It was European claiming that if you let the Irish in, you know, so and so, if you let the Polish in the next group, and if you let the Switzerlandian in, if you let what's the name in, the Jew in, and so the European Jew, so forth and so on.
Right.
So this is something that Satan been trying to perfect for a long time, is what I'm getting at. All right, and then it came to apply to us, and they said we got to upgrade to perfection because now all of us are here. We pulled it on all of us, but now the Italian, the Irish, the Polish, the whatever European ones, the English, the this, we all here now. We done whipped on each other long enough, and now we got these here. Let's make them the enemy,
Right.
the colored ones,
Right.
and they did so. What have you? I mean, to the point where we have the problems in the world with and the situation in Palestine is a key component of it, in terms of okay, let's go and just take this over and find some way to do it and claim something that we owned 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago,
Right.
you know, and what have you. Yet here we are as African Americans, and just 400 years ago, they don't want to pay us nothing.
Right.
They won't give us no reparation. But you can come in and claim something 3,000 years ago that you say you lived there, etc., and that somehow it belongs to you and not the people who have been there longer than that,
Right.
and what have you. And both groups having their religious rights to cooperate with each other, you know. So this is certainly a trick of Satan, and it was one that has worked. And in the environment we're in the world today, but particularly in our country, it has to meet these challenges. It has to meet the challenges of its documentation for its democracy, as compared to others are saying, well, was just for those words just for us now. We need to change them words and stuff so that you know, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created with equal and endowed with certain inalienable rights and can't be taken away from them, that God gave, so forth and so on. Well, now they work on say we got to try to change that in order to justify before the world why we want to not let other folks in here. That only means more productivity for the country, as it did before. The country got where it got because of the skills and knowledge, even though we were enslaved, the skills and knowledge of rice growing and so forth and so on, be able to work in certain climates, what have you, though you did it with not paying and what have you in order to build the riches and etc. But you had a document that you put together that you took from God's words. Those words in what we call the preambles and the Constitution itself, those were words from scriptures. Those were words that Masons knew well where they came from. Right. The Quran, the men was Masons. They knew what they was putting together. And they were putting it together knowing that only we could be successful if we use this ideology. If we use this, because we have seen history of those who worked against this way of treating human beings, which they were subject to at the time from the British and etc., that these are the words of freedom. These are the words that will make man stand up and what have you, because these words are in the plan of God. That we have this democracy and this freedom that God has endowed to us, man didn't give to us, so forth and so on. And now in the changing of time and things going on, is forgetting that, but it's there. And now when we hear some of our folks will say, well, when they said that, they weren't including us, but God was, because those words come from the book of God. Right. So no matter what it was, and when you chose to use God's words in your plan, you obligated. Right. Because no one, as God said, you plan, not plan. And you don't have authority to override my plan. So all of this scare, tax, and fear really should be waking up the European, educated or non, whatever you want to call it, because it's coming from all sides. What have you? It's coming from, as you said, political people who you think of as being educated people, and what have you. They're pushing this. For what reason? For containment, for greed, for dominance. Really, it's for dominance. We want to remain the dominant race in the country, as we wanted to be the dominant religion in this country. But again, those forefathers chose a language that says there must be freedom of religion, and though you may be the bigger number, you can't claim America is Christian. and even God's plan. It's hard to say it's Christian because you got 557,000 Christian denominations. Now I'm just giving a number out there, and the same for Judaism. I mean, in fact, I just met with a brother, a Jewish brother from Iranian Jewish brother, and some in the conversation we were saying something, and Manan was speaking about during the holidays, Yom Kippur, and a particular food that is prepared that Manan was aware of, and talking to the two, they were two Jews, one an Iranian Jew and one was another one. I forget what group he was with, but they were business partners. And talking to him, Manan was trying to explain about this particular honey pie or something there, and the other one said, "Listen, there's so many Jewish sects, man. I don't know what you're talking about in terms of this using pie for this particular holiday. Yeah, we all get the holiday, but I don't know about that pie. I mean, we didn't get on outside to say there's so many different sects and what have you. So in there, the tribes that created so much problem in terms of all this tribalism. So it was with the Arabs, and so it was with Africa. So it was named that all of these unique things that are happening, but you cannot put anything with the intention of presenting itself as good without using what is good. And what is good is going to come from God. And what is good that you put together come from God, it's going to hold you to it. And that good that God gives us, in language or otherwise, you will not be able to override that, no matter how much you try. As I said, the truth crushed to the ground or covered over or pressed down, etc., in time, as God will. In time, because God, time doesn't affect God. So God gives you time to correct yourself. That's the mercy. It's giving you enough time to correct yourself, and over time, us becoming free was part of that time frame. There was 400 years and so forth and so on, but in time, God said you keep it up, but if you keep using this, the language you use itself is going to set loose freedom. And Frederick Douglass and others and etc., you claim Jesus Christ as your Savior. But the way you behave in the world, Jesus wouldn't recognize you. That's for sure, the behavior. I think he said barbaric or something that Frederick Douglass quoted that shocked him on the 4th of July. I'm going to celebrate this? What you doing to me? I'm going to celebrate the 4th of July? Wait a minute here. For what reason would I celebrate this? It said you ashamed the savages of the world with your behavior, but you think you can't be seen because you got on all these costumes? You got on a bow tie or a black top suit, or you got the fancy boats and this and that, and you live in ivory towers and etc., and you think because of that you're going to fool God? So your question in terms of that circumstance, for me, I say, don't worry, be happy that you can now see the plan of Satan unfold. And let us see how we can help our both the circumstance, be it the Haitians, be it the Latino mothers whose babies were taken from them in the stretch at the border, just as much as now with Afghanistan and the circumstance there that created over 20 years of oppressive wars and such under the name of, again, democracy, you're going free and etc. But what did you do? You were defeated because you came up with a picture that people would approve of to save the women and stop them being oppressed, so on and so on. But in reality, you went in there and you took the precious things from the land that you needed, and you took it without paying for it. And that kind of behavior in the world, in this day and time we're living in, will no longer be acceptable by God. Your time is up. Racism, time is up. Oppressing of women, time is up. It's up. And freedom is freedom with responsibility. But Satan, he's got his respite here on this earth, and he is not going to stop until the concluding of things. And as Imam Muhammad said, and I witnessed it, we're living in the concluding of things. And how can we know that? How can we identify it? Based on just this homeboy from the neighborhood, born and raised in Brooklyn, worked hard for a family life as a plumber, are able to speak and say what I'm saying now because of the beauty of al-Islam, because of the knowledge of al-Islam, as taught by the Prophet and given to us as a must. We must have received this from God based on what we went through. It is God's mercy to us to give us al-Islam now as a way to wipe out all that pain, because there's a lot of pain for 400 years.
Yeah.
But to put that pain in a perspective and know that because we have accepted this, that those who directly receive that pain have achieved heaven. They have achieved heaven because we, those ancestors, are in paradise, Jannah, and we shall see them again whole. All right? And those who insist, like I told the sister, I said, you know, some people are destined for hell, you know. She had a hard time understanding that. I said, no, they're destined for hell. I said, well, do you believe people in hell? I said, well, then how did they get there? You know, they're destined for hell by their demeanor and what have you. And there are people in hell. They talk about hell. It's full of them. But you don't have to go thinking of hell after somebody die in the grave. Just look at this kind of society we're living in and the behavior that's going on.
I remember sometime years ago you said, listen now, hypocrites get old too, you know.
Hey.
so they evolve to that same level, but they get old.
Right. Hypocrisy. If you make mistakes, but you don't correct the mistakes and keep doing it, after a while it's no longer a mistake, it's sin.
Right.
Mistake is the first first presentation of it. You didn't know. But if you keep naming it, now the second time is sin. You didn't change it. You know, I mean, you didn't do anything to stop it. So no, I would not. I'm not worried about or concerned about the same regurgitating of the same strategies of the races and clans and stuff there. It will not be successful today. The world is much more in tune and much more educated to the clear word and guidance of God. You know, and I don't see. You can try it, and they do have a big control over media and everything else, but I don't see it. And certainly for any human being who still has their soul intact, when you see people treated like that at the border, in particular the Haitian people, in terms of all of the changes that they have gone through because of them standing for their life to be free. Years ago from slavery and etc. Because we got to be clear on all our brothers and sisters. More important to me is to them to understand we are one human family. Our family is one human family, and our ties are close as a human family because of our common life struggles. Everyone in Jamaica, in Haiti, in Trinidad, in Cuba, in wherever you find the consistent genetic makeup of an African feature and etc., all of us was enslaved, taken from our motherland and put in all these little islands. And until you stop highlighting that island and highlight that we are one human family and we suffered the same human condition, that's where our relief and our power comes in at. But as long as you keep highlighting, I'm a Jamaica man. You know, I did a little something there. You know, yeah, man, I cut it. You know, I can't get that stuff there. Matter of fact, my friend, my good friend, Abdul Alim from Trinidad, which I had the honor to go to and visit. One day I was talking to something, and one of the Jamaican brothers said something to me. And I said, man, it's Kokomo Joe, man. What the heck? You know, I didn't know I said it out loud, you know. So when I was with Lean, we was something. And he said, yeah, those Kokomo Joes. I said, where you get that from, you know? You know, I got for you, man. You call them Kokomo Joes. Okay, man. Okay, you know. But my point, the more serious note is, it ain't, at this day and time, it ain't what, because you use the color conscious, I'm going to use it. It ain't what the white man do. It's what we're not doing. And I said this in a Juneteenth presentation. You're complaining about the white man this, the white man that, what have you, but you won't cooperate with each other, and we come from the same suffering. And our focus should not be on what he done. We know what he done. He got to pay for that. He got to answer for that. In the meantime, we should be focusing as one community for the benefit of all of us to not dwell on that and not looking for revenge, because God ain't going to be with us on that. All right? Not looking for revenge or anything else. Put our focus on our productivity and building our community and stuff as one. Don't let me go to Jamaica and you look at me that I'm, he's an African American and what have you. We all Africans.
Right.
We're all from Africa. The history shows they went to Africa and took you and me and put us all on these different islands. So don't be holding up your Jamaicanism or your Trinidadianism or your whatever, Cubaism or your whatever it is. Don't hold that up over me. That's why you're still suffering. Because you refuse to unite on a positive productivity and not against anybody, but for ourselves. That was solved because we're prepared right now to go to Haiti, all of us, we had to, and go and dig what's name, whatever the damn thing is, and I can guarantee you, by God's will, you won't have no more volcanoes. And move out those thinkings that are causing you to murder presidents and over and over again, and others can easily come in and put a wedge between you and your blood kin. That's where the problem lies. It ain't the white man problem. He doing what he doing because you still weak like that. You refuse to recognize all of us. Everybody from any island surrounding whatever should be heading for Haiti and say, listen, we got, instead of talking about, we got to stay there. We coming with everything we got. It wouldn't take us but 6 months to put everything back together. Now let's stay together. Not against nobody. Clear. And that's with every island, every place, because you allow them to come in and divide and do what? Conquer.
Well, Imam said one time they shouldn't even be on our agenda.
No. No. Whatever they got to pay for, they set up there. Let them do that among themselves.
Right.
There's some great, good, God-fearing white folks. I know a few of them called folklore.
Right.
All right, and a few other more that calls the what's name. Let them. So listen, we're not going to interfere with y'all. You straighten that out.
Right.
You know, your political guy, he pushing this white supremacy, understand? Y'all deal with that. Because we deal with it, they're going to use that. See, they'll use that to keep going. We're not going to deal with that. We're going to deal with our lives right now. We're going to deal with the life that we have, that the freedom we have that God has brought to us. And we're going to use that all over the globe to Ghana, and even in Africa needs to be coming back, because all of Africa was divided. South Africa, you name of it. A minority of Europeans coming in and running every daggone thing. And we grown men sitting there and propping you up, and when we put you in there, you follow his plan and oppress your own people. So now he stands back and is a black, quote-unquote, black man oppressing the people. How you going to keep doing this? Enough is enough. All right, so I'm not concerned about some Ku Klux Klan guy or somebody, gurgitating up, the same old schemes and what have you, and they're going to come and take over and all stuff there. Listen. Let us make our people stand and get a dignified picture. Let's get this dignified picture of who we are. And let's work with each other, and don't let anybody throw a wedge in between. Yeah. That's family. You don't let nobody throw a wedge in between you and your family. Yeah. Period. And we ain't got no time to be working against anybody. Let's work for, right here in this area here, where all the African brothers and sisters from everywhere they come in this area surrounding this historical mosque, none of them, the leaders and all, cannot claim that we didn't open our doors. From Imam Rashid, and before that, and the stretcher to myself, open our doors to give you a jump start. But then you took the same influence of the European attitude in your countries and walked away from us and act like we didn't do anything to help you. We opened arms as family members, as our family. And now you stand like you looking to do the African thing only. When you say that, you mean the tribal breakdowns that you have in your country, even religious-wise. You didn't took El Islam and broke it into tribalism. or I'm the T-Jans, I can't think of all the names. You know, I'm the Jajani, I'm a this, I'm a that. You know, and this one here from Ghana, Guinea, this one that there. You know, yeah, you go. What? So now who's the Satan in that plan? Once Satan is exposed, why you keep doing the plan? So we're going to stay on the high ground, and we're going to stay with our prophet Muhammad, the prayers and peace be upon him, who was a man for all humanity. And we're going to stay with that book given to him, which helps all books that came before. That's what we're going to stay with. So, and we'll keep using our horn to address it the way we're addressing it. You know, don't make the hatred of an ignorant man, no matter what skin he's in, what culture he claims, don't let an ignorant man or woman, for that matter, tie up your life with their ignorance. It ain't happening. It's a new day. It's a new world. And in reality, America needs, for it to keep going, it needs the democracy. It has the right idea because it has a Hajj idea. Nowhere on earth other than the Hajj itself do you have so many nationalities, so many human beings with so many different experiences, culture and otherwise, in anywhere else in the world like you have in America. And because of those folks reading those scriptures and those books, and they knew about the Hajj, and they knew God says this is the best picture. That's how America became what it is. Now, they know about which one of the presidents who got the Quran and everything else who was a Mason. Thomas Jefferson and a few other ones, a couple more who was arguing against it. They all, if it wasn't a Mason, they all know. All right? And they know it, that this is what the better thing we have to go after. And that's all. Let's just keep moving. We're doing a good job. It's happening. Yes, you know, now the ones who control the enemy, they ain't going to show it, but it's happening. It's happening, man. Yeah. And we're coming together now as human beings. So I'm not rejecting my European brother who's trying to do good. I'm welcoming him. He said, "Now I see the plight. I see what happened, so and so on. Yeah, I got to take some blame. Some of my folks, they were involved with it, and even I had a little taste of it myself. I thought you Negroes were something else, but I come to see the light." So I ain't so colorblind no more. So I'm being loud.
Two things, Brother Mel. I want to mention vaccination before, but before I do, I want to ask you about this. Of course, you know, they say when a society, before its fall, there are some things that take place, and one is the moral decay, moral deviation. They say lastly is when they get the sexual deviations, usually Sodom and Gomorrah, that's when they go down.
Right.
You know, they have a program, I don't know if it's coming on, I know they were promoting it on yet, I've seen it nor would I want to see it. But where they put 16 people on the island, butt naked. Nobody on the island but them. Put them in a remote area where there's 16 of them, 8 males, 8 females. Put them on the island with I think they call it naked and afraid or naked and unafraid, I'm not sure. But they put them on an island and then they watch them, their interaction, what they do with each other, who gets with who survives, how they survive, that kind of thing. But it's you know, it comes down to just who gonna tie in sexually in that old nine. But it's just what they're promoting right now. I don't know if you've seen the commercial for it, but anyway, it just seems to me like it reminds me when I saw it, the advertising. It reminds me you said that the devil has turned up the heat as far as he can get it. It's to the maximum extreme. Would you comment on that?
Absolutely not. Well, I don't know if I can comment on that because I ain't seen none of that. I ain't heard none either. But we do know that we're certainly living in a repeated time that we can find in all of the scriptures of old. We can find in the Bible. And we also can find references to this in our holy book, the Quran. Because as we understand the scriptures is both containing revelation from God, but also contains history of man's interaction with the creation. And certainly there's no way for you to, at least in America, and I think it's everywhere right now, to see the promotion of what they call a promiscuous behavior being made popular. And matter of fact, from that behavior, a lot of diseases have infected the world in a lot of ways. So knowing that comes with that, I can't say this word, promiscuous behavior, they're even marketing remedies to say continue to promiscuous behavior because we have something that can cut down on the transmission of the kind of diseases that come out of that behavior. The fact that a disease comes out of that behavior should be more than enough for anyone still left in their right mind to stop the behavior. But in this time we're in, with the Frankenstein doctors involved, rather than that, they create something to say, well, we're going to have something that says continue it, because we have something that can allow you to continue this behavior that created this germ or disease that kills you and what have you. So we come up with something that it still won't let it transmit and what have you. So keep doing it. So we're in the time that the scriptures and what have you prophesize and show us the demonstration in history of this effort to take mankind, male and female, off of the high station that God has designed for us to be on. So again, tie yourself to a belief that is the best medicine of protection. Tie yourself to trusting in God. Now, whether you call that trust using Islam or Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or Sikhism, whatever you want to call, you don't call it anything. Tie yourself to obeying your good nature and good common sense. Because for you to engage in this promiscuous behavior, you have to override your nature itself. Your nature, I'm going to try to word as best I can. Nature, with its sacredness and sacred regard, when it sees something that is attracted by, it sees it, but it takes on a shame within itself if it's seeing it without having respect for it. So you are naturally, your nature is naturally attracted, male and female, and you have that natural attraction as a male for a female. We see this in the animal kingdom when the female in the animal kingdom is reached the nature of needing, ready for production to expand the life of the animal kingdom. And the kind of behavior that takes place in the male, sensing the opportunity to expand its creation. And only the best thereof will the female submit to. That's a lot of messaging. And we are a high level in that, but that's messaging showing us right in that thing there. I'm looking for the best mate that will be able to take care of the action in which we're going to do, the sacredness of the action. A weak one will not be able to do this because this requires responsibility. It's right there in the animal kingdom. And so it is bringing it home to us as human beings, that as male and female, we see something and we see an environment, God willing, an environment that gets our attention, what have you, but then our attention goes to how do I engage this in the right way? I must show to her my responsibility. I must show to her my muscles of intelligence. I must show to her my muscles of being able to take care of if she allows me, if she accepts me willingly, and I accept her willingly. I must demonstrate. We lost all that there in terms of demonstrating. Hey, the Animal King still got it. Demonstrating that I need to see, are you able financially to take care of this engagement? That's what they call thing engagement. A part of demonstrating, they use a ring, a part of putting something on the table. Yeah, like you, like me, and I see that there, but where's before we engage, show me some evidence of your ability to take care of the responsibility. Because out of this engagement, we marry, we enter, there's going to be a responsibility here. And I'm not, we're not going down that road like this. And those are kind of lessons that we need to be dealing with. So in terms of those now defying that and taking on a posture of anything goes, just any kind of way, and then also going about it to where to run from the responsibility, and then taking up this heinous behavior to can you? I mean, you can't imagine. I wouldn't want to put that on my psyche, but imagining I heard about a bull escaped something today. Someone used a bull. Yeah, a bull looking to get with a bullhead shark. So you can't imagine that. That's not, a bull want to get with a bullhead shark. Well, that's what you're doing. In other words, this bull is going to look at the shark and going to say, I got some gleamy eyes for the shark. Well,
Non-compatible evidence.
if anyone in the right mind see that, said, man, there's some serious help need to be here. And sure it is. But because this, what is the word again? Promiscuous behavior,
Loose morals.
it has control of the microphone. It has put itself in position to control the messaging center and to wisfiduficedudiness into the ears. So again, into the ears of the population and tell them there's nothing wrong with a four-legged bull getting with a shark with fins.
Right.
And now I'm saying this because you got to be careful of the children stories they're telling and how they are using these images of a fish and a bird together and this, that, the other. You got to, these people this is diabolical. So your psyche of your child, they coming up with another generation. Well, what's wrong with that? It's a cartoon. I've seen it in a cartoon. You got to look at what the word cartoon means. I'm not going to give it. Somebody look it up. I know what it means. A cartoon. What exactly? If you hear, you hear a tomb. Put you in a tomb. Put you in a graveyard state, yet you still alive. Mummified you. They say they wrapped up a person for such evil act. They wrapped them up in a mummified situation, alive. And then they put those black, what do they call those things? Scallops. You go watch one of those daggone mummy pictures. The black, and they're alive to eat the body up, eat the flesh up. I forget that little, what they call that black thing they put in the mummy. When the person dies, they did some wicked stuff they tried into, and they bust them and they wrap them up alive and put them in the mummy tomb, but they throw these other creatures in there with them that eats them up. All the psychological stuff, man. It's almost like Wolfman and all this other kind of stuff, which they didn't sophisticate this stuff, but they're putting it all in cartoons.
Maggots, maybe?
No, this just I can't think of the name of the daggone thing. And it's known. It's a insect. And it has a power. It's a powerful insect, but they switch it around and use some other way in terms of a whole lot of mythology, symbolism, allegorical. They tie all these things up in this manner but then manifests it into the life of the human being, and the human being begin to behave in this manner, and don't even realize you behaving like a horseshoe crab. You never think you see a human being, you watch a horseshoe crab, and you say, well, man, that's just like John. He acts like that. Taking on the nature of things, and you the highest of the creature, instead of you engaging that creation in a proper manner, you take on its disposition. And that's what's going on. What you got, Tariq?
We know got the cartoon. Just wasn't. Now listen to this. This really. It says a design or a drawing or a painting or something made by an artist as a model for the finished work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here you present this model.
Right.
But
where you lead me to?
To the finished.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So that's
it.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we might see a bull trying to jump on a bullhead shark in the cartoon world, animated world.
Right.
So this is a shame, but again, we got to give our time to the living, who's still breathing and have a chance to be able to reach them. That's our focus. The prophet's focus was delivering his message. Deliver his message and make it clear. That is the power of the prophets. Deliver the message and make it clear. And Allah, God the Almighty, says, that's the charge. You don't have the authority. It's my decision whether they come or they don't come. It's not yours. All right? So that's the power we have. Let's stay on our message. Let's deliver our message. And let's deliver the concerns that we see. And then give the answers of a route you can take in order to awaken yourself that you have fell asleep at the wheel and what have you. Now wake up. You shouldn't be driving and sleeping at the same time. And they got to do that today and tell people, don't drive and text. Don't drive and do this. What have you. Same thing. You driving and literally sleeping at the wheel, and you have a very, when used proper, a very great vehicle for transportation, but when not used proper, drunk, and etc., and what have you, becomes a dangerous tool for your life and any other life. And then when you wake up, you're saying, well, I don't know what happened, so therefore I was under influence, and therefore I shouldn't be judged for it. But the influence you under, they said, don't drink and drive. So, same thing, don't drink and drive. Well, your life is the same way. You're not going to get the best of the knowledge from God under a drunkard state. And right now, we're in a time where the behavior you were referring to and talking about and being promoted, and they try to promote it with the picture you gave me under the Adam and Eve scenario. When you say they're there with no clothes on, out in some, where they're trying to perpetuate a picture that was myth and so forth and so on, was no real reality about that picture. But they're trying to, well, we're going to bring in it. It's losing its potency. That picture of Adam and Eve in a garden and animals and all stuff there, which has nothing to do with no real animals, nothing to do with no garden as you thinking of, and etc. And they know it's losing its potency because the truth is here now. And therefore, how do we keep perpetuating it? Well, we know we put that in a long time, so let's create this thing and make it happen. And I'm sure, again, you said you ain't seen, I ain't seen it, but I'm sure nowhere in there are you hearing wedding bells.
Right. Right.
You're not hearing the voice of God in there saying X, Y, and Z. So alhamdulillah, pray be to God. Yeah.
Last maybe Phil had something, Brother Man, but I wanted to ask regarding vaccination. Because of course, I heard you on numerous occasions talking about the fact it's a choice.
Right.
You're not promoting either way.
Right.
People make the choice based on what they're under.
Circumstances, yes.
However, they had a number of people who were anti, but they're not anti. They just want more information.
Mm-hmm.
They had a series of doctors come on and say, "Look, we've asked these questions; they have not been answered."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we've known what the history has been in terms of vaccinating people massively and kind of things have happened. So they're saying, "Look, at this point, to tell people that you're going to lose your job you ain't gonna have a job on Monday because November 1st, you ain't got a vaccination, you're losing your job as a teacher. You know, what is the thinking here? Because that takes away the choice and the idea that okay, you may be threatened, but there are people who are very health conscious, very mindful, and doing all that you always say intelligent thing to protect themselves, and haven't taken the vaccination. Just to get, because it's so prevalent, I'd like to get the benefit of your thinking.
From my little knowledge, not much, in terms of, because of Imam W. Muhammad, which means because of our Prophet, the prayer and peace upon him, and the clarity of mind and the soberness in which how we live. We're sober. We don't engage in anything that would make us drunk, that would take us off our course. To know that when I call out to God, then I'm calling to God, because you cannot go to God befogged of mind of any shape, form, or fashion. With that said, there have been many plagues, diseases, viruses over mankind's history. And we should not ever lose sight of that history. And again, it's in Scripture. It's in prophecy. And some of the prophets came because of the reaction to plagues and diseases throughout the land. Some of them were mission to help guide them out of the kind of responses that people were taking in those circumstances. This particular virus, known as COVID-19, and now, as they say, mutating, which is pretty standard that most viruses mutate, and we know that based on the cold seasons that have took on many names after they identified what viruses is, the swine flu, the this one and that one. We also know there were viruses in recent times. They named it, unfortunately, Africa, West Nile virus, mosquitoes, and what have you. So in our recent times, there have been a lot of viruses that affected different parts of the world. Ebola, SARS, so many viruses that you don't know the name of all of them, but I did look up, and there's so many of them I couldn't stay with all of them in terms of that's been happening in the world. This one happened to take on the airborne nature and was able to be carried around the world. First thing I come to realize, none of this is out of God's sight, and nothing can happen without God's permission. God don't give it to you, but your actions bring it about, and God has the power to stop it when He wants to stop it. It's just as our enslavement for 400 years. It was never out of God's sight, nor out of His power to bring it to a conclusion. Why He allowed it for 400 years and what have you, only God knows that. However, we see the great results of what has risen up out of that. I'm standing on the doorway of Al-Islam and the steps of heaven on earth. So, establishing the annual flu shots that we know about each year, that they want to promote, your doctor will promote you to take it, etc. Even though they're not sure what flu will be, and you are RNN, Brother Philip, not sure which string is going to be, meaning that whatever they come up with is not a cure. They come up with things that will make, when it hits you, that will hopefully, what they come up with will retard the death impact of it. That you will be sick for a week or two, whatever it is, and then eventually it will go because you have done like herbologists and others, natural path people and others have been doing for hundreds, thousands of years with medicines and what have you. I got books on medicine way back Egyptian times written that you can, see the medicines they use and etc. And we know they knew the sciences based on the way they embalm people that today we still ain't figured out, or build pyramids and what have you, and etc. All right. So you got to look at this from a great picture. While you're under the threat, it has a tendency to look only at the threat, rather than looking at the broader picture in terms of, as scientists, and they don't think of science as just the guy who got the sciences degree down to CD, whatever it is, and what's the name. No. You got to, when something's coming to threaten your family, you got to take up the scientific endeavors, and you have to dig into it and make, as I said to people, make your decision based upon your life, knowledge, and experiences, and those whom you trust that you seek to go to get knowledge from. So in terms of extreme reactionaries, throughout history, from what I understand, history and scriptures, when you respond to something in the extreme, you more than likely are not responding in the proper way to take extremes. So in terms of directly, in terms of those who are hesitant about taking the current immune system fighting virus injections that they have out there, have a right to do so. But at the same time, they do have available ways to be able to check you periodically to making sure that you don't have it. So to take the position which way they're going now, of if you don't, you won't be able to fly, you won't be able to enter this, you won't be able to enter that, and what have you, unless you have the actual vaccination and what have you, I think is extreme. I think it is going to the extreme, and I don't think the right mind has not gotten into this yet. And also because of the danger, it's real. Let's not be clear. It is a real virus, and it is certainly destroying lives and killing people and etc. So that's a fact of the matter. The graveyards are telling us that. And hospitalization, Philip is there, it's just telling us that. This is killing people. And that it is airborne and what have you. We got to be cautious, and you don't want to be in a position of saying no to this, but not giving me something else, particularly when you're in positions where you interact, your job requires you to interact with a lot of people, like a healthcare provider and etc. It requires you to even, you can be risk yourself because you're in the healthcare thing, and how many people in that hospital have died that you might have to deal with as a nurse, wearing all the things you wear, but still the chance of you taking that home. So there's got to be a midway, a balance here, rather than, and government is not always the best person to take a lead on this. Because as you said, government has a history, and it's not the best of history in terms of giving the real facts or truth of the matter. As you said, they asking doctors, saying, listen, we need to have more evidence, so us as doctors even, who are directly dealing with people who trust us, to be able to give them some reassurances and etc. as to what they can do. Like I said, the flu shot, I haven't had a flu shot. I don't even know the last time I had one, because I realized that the main thing I need to do all the time is to make sure that I keep my immune system up, to keep it up. And that's because God ordered it. Now, that's not going to stop me from dying. Everything living is going to die. But at least I'm obligated to die looking real good. Looking healthy, instead of, they were trying to figure out what killed him, what have you, And as I said, more than likely for my case, it's going to be what they call congested heart failure, which I say ain't nothing but Negroitis. You know what I mean? Too many Negroes in your life you're dealing with, and they ain't got another name for it. They call it congestive heart failure. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't want to change it around, but inshallah. So I mean, the government has stepped out in panic, as I said in the beginning when I heard about this, and now the government has a tendency, once it step out in a certain way, it don't like to say it made a mistake, and that's where the suspicion coming at. It's very rare that you hear government saying, I made a mistake. That's a rarity. We made a mistake because of the kind of society we got. You got these daggone lawyers and legal folks, they immediately look for greed for money because you made a mistake. You made a mistake, so therefore, sue, we're going to get rich off this. So government is not in the tendency to say they made a mistake outright.
Right.
And what happened?
In the Afghan, they would apologize, and
Yeah.
the government said we made a mistake.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
rare.
and then look what the hypocritical media do to try to blame the president and what have you. What's his name? Biden. Yeah, Biden, and then for it, try to blame him for it, just for political points. To say, see how we the people looking at me, but the mic dropped, so y'all just have to wait a minute here. The clip. Philip, you ain't got no good clips here, man. Your fault. Okay. Okay. Move back. Yeah, hi, I'm back. He's watching stuff live, Yeah, so, they went to blame, politics. So all of these things in there, and it makes people hesitate because you're playing politics on one end, what have you, to make points to somebody to let you back in the office and all of these things. So it's hard to say, well, what is the real truth of the matter here? Can we get to that? What is the real truth of the matter? And that's where the decisions are being made difficult. Because I've heard, the folks in the herb industry and et cetera saying that, no, there are other things that will have just as much protection and just as much as the major pharmaceutical companies are producing that can offer the same thing and what have you, but they don't get the coverage. That's their complaint, that we don't get the coverage to say it works here. We didn't did it. We got the data too that shows that this works and that works and that works. The bottom line is, in this situation here, after all of that said and done, is the responsibility of the persons responsible to do their best to stop this thing from spreading. That is the key. And demanding that someone has to have the shot as the answer, or there's penalties which are being penalized. So that you can't fly, you can't go in this restaurant, this place, that place, unless in proof that you have surrendered to this cure. I think that if others in the so-called naturopath health industry has something that's equal to the protection that these pharmaceutical people are given, then they need to be stepping forth much stronger. So if the doctors you're talking about are concerned about a teacher not being able to go teach because he or she won't take the shot, going to lose their job, and etc., and what have you, they need to have a strong put together and say, well, what are the other options you want to put on the table? Because the disease is real. That's where the point comes. The disease is real. That's no denying it. It's real. And as long as we accept that it is real, it is a virus, and it is doing what it's doing, then put on the table what it is that you have that will allow you to come into where my precious children are at, and not be connected to any of the pharmaceutical formulas for it. Then what do you have so that I can say, okay, no problem. But something has to be done to reassure folks that you're protected. You just can't stand on the ground, it's my right, I shouldn't be prejudicial against because I don't want to take it and so forth. All that sounds very interesting. So then what is the options? It's very interesting. I mean, but what is the options here? Not just to be indifference of I got my rights and I'm freedom to do this and freedom to do that. Yeah, but none of us are free to do anything we want to do because you don't live in the world by yourself. You live in a global community. And I don't want you coming to my village when we don't have it, and then you known for having it. You got the measles, you got the chicken pox. Let me go to all those things there. I don't want you spreading that. You got wingworms. If a child got wingworms in his or her head, they don't let him into school because of potential chance of it will spread. So don't treat this any different than that in terms of that. Now, again, if you got concerns for these pharmaceuticals setups and, you know, like anything else, is always spread some kind of rumor. It'll make your toe fall off. And, you know, I've seen 3 toes fall off this person and that. You know, I mean, this is unfortunate. That's the work of Satan in terms of always putting some doubt somewhere. So if these are intelligent group educators and et cetera and what have you, you just can't fall back on my rights, you threaten my job, so forth and so on. You just can't fall back on that. You have to come with something. Give me something I can work with. As if I'm a government leader, give me something I can work with. Right now, I have to take this stand because I have to protect all the people in the city. I'm responsible for all of them in this government, and I can't take these risks. So give me something that I can stand on. I think I'm giving you something by saying, well, if you're going to do this, then certainly you're going to have to wear the mask, and certainly you're going to have to be tested daily. Each time you enter this building, you're going to have to be tested, and we will set up the availability so that you can be tested before you enter this building, so forth and so on. If that's what I got, and if you got something different than that, then address that. Don't address that you just don't want to take the shot.
Right, I got you.
That's the difference I'm seeing. Yeah. Don't just address, I don't want to take the shot, you know, because of rumors, whatever else you said somebody gave you. All right, I'm going to work with you. I'm not going to fire you. But this is what you're going to have to do because I'm responsible for a bigger group than just you. And therefore, these are the things you need to, when you come daily, we have an area where you can go to, get the check, they say you cleared, you got to wear the gloves, you're going to have to wear the mask, and what have you, and you can do that. Once you leave here, you go and whoever else rule is for a restaurant, this, that, the other, everybody's got their right to do that. And even plane situation, you shouldn't stop people from flying. You should say, okay, now you ain't got the what's the name. Okay, we're gonna have a center where you can go right here now and show us, get the check, right here. I mean, you have it, right there. You can check, see, do you have it before you go on this plane? No, I don't have it. Okay, so we want you to wear double mask. We're gonna give you the M95 3752 mask. You know what I mean? To put on and what have you. We ain't gonna put on your plane ticket. Don't worry about it. Kind of thing. I mean. Right. You got to meet people where they're at. There was a panic. This came as in the form of a panic. People were dropping dead. Boom, boom. They're dropping dead like flies. They were dropping dead. And what's going on? Nobody knew nothing. At least government claiming they didn't know nothing. So, I can't stand, in my situation from Islamic perspective, I can't stand, like the Prophet said to those, if you have know you got a disease, stay there. Right, stay away from people. Stay where it's at. Don't go and spread it. So again, the best weapon they got right now is taking the injections or be willing to be tested everywhere you go. And major government institutions can do that, but whether private industry can do that or not, I don't know.
One of the things that was cited by the doctors is that the FDA approval is approval as an experimentation, not as a cure. They never say this is a cure. They say this has been approved by the FDA as an experiment.
Right.
Towards it.
Well, that's everything the FDA ever approved. That's the standard operation. Like I said, they ain't no medicine I know of that you get to prescribe a prescription from your doctor that says this is a cure. As a matter of fact, it tells you all the other things on it that this thing can cause. Right. But they say, but the pharmacy and everybody in language, insurance policies and protection say, well, this medicine, the side effects is this, and that's 2 pages long, for what you're getting it for. But your doctor has prescribed it, so they put it back on. They put it back on the one you saying the doctor. Why? Say that's the person you trust. that he knows your history. We don't know your history. And he has written this prescription. We didn't write it to say X, Y, and Z. However, we have to tell you that this can do all these other things too. There's a possibility of these risk factors. But your doctor, who you do trust, who you do know, so forth and so on, that's where they're coming from, has said for you to take it. So it's still left in it's still left in your hand to do so or not, or to search other methodologies addressing what's happening to you in terms of that. So the FDA and all of you, they never they never gave anything that I know that said a cure. They've been able to give things to beat it back, and then mostly what they deal with is the fact that if you can, what they call it, I think they call it herd immunity is the word I think they use. If you can effectively treat enough people, a certain percentage of people in an environment, then the thing itself has no way to transfer to, because they have at least the preventive stuff in you that can beat it back and not let it mutate in a such. That's their logic that I hear them talking about. But again, I don't know of anything in America, and I don't know any other country in terms of that when you get the prescription that it says this is the cure. None of it says that. It just says that this will help the condition and what have you. So that's not an argument that I would think, and then they're professional people, they should know better than that. That's not an argument. And the main thing is you want to be protected from it. I want to be protected from it. The person who doesn't want to take the shot wants to be protected from it. You don't want to catch it one way or the other. So therefore, this riding upon it defends on my constitutional rights and all this kind of stuff is Satan's work. No, let's come to common terms. You don't want to take the shot? Well, here's some things you can do that I can engage you on. You can, if you do these things, I will let you in. So they give me that. If you do these things, I'll let you in. And you say, I ain't gonna do it right there. Well, then now there's a problem. There's a problem. And if you say you have some other herbs or something that works, well, and saying that yours is a quote unquote the cure, then bring it forth. And just as you demanding the FDA, the rest of them do their research and what have you, well then produce yours too. Or they won't let me do it. They won't let me. No, enough is enough. You're a doctor? What are you talking about? Come on. So this is a serious matter, and I think the main thing I know of right now, whether you get one of the shots, you don't get it, what have you, is even with the shot, you need to continue to do the things to build up your immune system. That's the main thing. And we know part of the problem in the world, and including on this subject matter, part of the problem in the world globally, but certainly in what they call the modern communities, what's the word they use? The more bigger societies, America, European, the more, what they call them third world and what have you, but the more progressive, quote unquote, that's the word they use for communities, you need to really consider life itself and consider the decision you make, because in most of these progressive communities, most of the problem why our immune systems are so down is we have a diet that kills the immune system, and that's not being addressed. We've been promoting a diet of sugar and salt, sweet and bitter, French fries, burgers, this, that, cakes, pies, what's the name, all these things that you got an obese problem globally that's beyond anything, starting with little children. And that's really an issue that that needs to be addressed in terms of the dietary marketing that takes place with fast foods and all these different things that we know are certainly a culprit as to why your natural system is defunct, because the diet you have is causing kidney failure, diabetes, all of these serious diseases because of the culture diet. And that need to be more, and this is bringing it out, and they said, even they talking about giving boosters, looking at those who are more in a situation, they're right, because of they already diet, it ain't working, this ain't working, and that ain't working, etc. High blood pressure, all these things here, the diet and the climate that the diet creates these immune system depressors. So, it brings out a lot that we need to really look at in terms of that. And hopefully, that'll be a major address. If you don't want these major diseases to spread so fast, then come up with, and I'm sure on the planet there's some, what they call them third world somewhere, where, they're doing all right because they have a diet that's not synthetic growing vegetables and etc., but real earth stuff and etc., and they're aware of the environment of taking certain natural herbs from the sap of a tree and this, that, the other. This information is there, but we're in a fast food, fast lane, fast go situation, and all that, the stress level is a whole nother piece to deplete your immune system.
Yes, sir.
Diet and stress. So inshallah, hopefully that's it. I think we run out of time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, because he never just set the clock, I can't tell.
Yeah,
well, alhamdulillah, yeah, that's enough. That's more than enough to get me in trouble. All I need was 15 minutes to get in trouble, inshallah. Willing. But alhamdulillah, praise be to God. Philip, do you have one thing you want to throw out there? Because I know you was,
Yes, Brother Ma'am. I'd just like to talk about in terms of the public, the public understanding. It seems as if we know this major case about the girl that went missing in Florida and the fiancé that's missing. But when it always seems as if there's a lot of criticism against the police department. Said, okay, if you have I don't like using this language, but let's say if you have the complexion for the protection, then you get special treatment. Like they're trying to say, how could the guy afford to go missing? Even when he's considered a person of interest. And I can't help but think of the incident we had here where the young girl was killed in a fire.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to treat, the person was a teenager, and they wanted to treat him as an adult. This guy who's an adult can afford to go missing to the point where they can't find him now. But he just comments, it seems that there's a big, major discrepancy in treatment of people who they think may be guilty based on, it's not economics, it's clear that he's not really, but just color, it's a color issue.
Right. Well, you hit the nail on the head. It is a conscious, even what Tariq was mentioned earlier too, it's a conscious, ingrained response to white life matter, black life don't. And when there is a crime committed and it's a white person or particularly a white woman and it has something to do with anyone of color involved with it, I don't care if you're 3 years old, they're going to do what they can to change the law to put you away forever. That's history. That's not my attitude. That's what's named. They've been doing this for the longest, and they consistently do it. And as you say, these unfortunately the loss of life of the young lady here in this park or something. We don't know all the whole story, and you won't, because I'm well aware of arresting teenagers and etc. Below age and how they question them, what they do, how they manipulate them, and etc. So there's gonna always be doubt. We know that from the Central Park 5, whatever it was, in thousands Central Park 5 cases, and what have you, that they will do that and stack the books on in order to close it up, because more pressure from media when it's a white person, particularly a white woman, quote unquote, involved with something and they lose their life, and potentially some black person or person of color has something to do with it. The media itself promotes this, to lock up somebody. As a matter of fact, the ex-president, Donald Trump, during that Central Park 5, took a full-page ad out to call them all kind of names and everything else. Yet when they were cleared after years of loss of their life and etc., that it was a whole farce and what have you, and they weren't it, and they knew that the person who did it was already in jail and everything else, there was no ad to say, man, what apology was there. So, and there's no penalty for that. All right. So here you got. Yeah, and all of it. I'm saying this goes. It's a piece that they have set in place that we must take the change. I said earlier, we must take the change as a human family with a common interest and a common oppression. Let that be a more riding thing than you lived over here and I lived over here, etc., and also the engagement of us killing one another and hating one another. All right, but that is something we need to deal with, and also on this side here, the injustices of you got every division of any law enforcement all over the world coming to help to find this young lady's body in her unfortunate circumstances, and then the clear picture of the young man was with her. They were stopped, fighting and everything. Police still ain't what's the name now. To today, if unfortunate situation, a black man has a problem in his home life, and him and his wife, they come there, they got an automatic thing that he must be taken in. He can't even show that he's got to be taken right in right away. So here again, is there unfair balance? Is there an actual thing that they do different when it comes down to that? Oh, absolutely. Been doing it for 400 or 500 years and more. So again, it's unfair, it's unjust, and it's not justice for the people who got killed. For the young lady who got killed in Central Park, or over here somewhere near Columbus side of what's there, or nor the lady who did get killed in Central Park, or this one here down in Florida, wherever it was. So that's something that's a stain on America in terms of what it did, and it has to change it itself. All right, and we need to be part of making that change, because even these young men here that they just recently treating as you said as adults. For that, I have certain questions on that I'm just not comfortable with. All right, 13 years old, you child adult, and then one turns on the other, and etc. And I say that from personal experiences. As a young boy in that same kind of age group, what was done to me and my older brother, that exact same thing, and took years with evidence that he had that he was nowhere near what they was talking about in the stretcher, but the police department, under pressure to bring somebody in, will bring in the person least that have the ability to defend themselves. They don't have the skin color, and nor don't have the right or the attorneys and everybody else to come fight for them. It was not for my mother and her relationship as a nurse's aide, or for years in the hospital, and the relationship she knew of a Jewish lawyer. My brother would probably be doing life in prison. But that Jewish lawyer stepped up because of her good work and what she knew about him. I think he was in the hospital once sick or something. My mom wanted to be there. Stepped up and turned that thing around. Otherwise, he would have been in there knowing good and well he was on his job. Evidence of it. People were there witnessing. No, he was not. He couldn't have been. He was here. So forth and so on. And took 3 years out of his life fighting a case that should never happen, because of corrupt policing and willingness to say this thing, knowing that they can get away with it by blaming it on a black boy, and have me locked up in there too as a young 14 or 13, whatever I was at the time. And it took a so-called friend of mine and beat him half to death for him to say that we did something that he know damn well none of us did. So Asa says, I'm very suspicious on this. They say it took one against the other, etc. I don't know the parents, I don't know what's the name, but they don't have the wherewithal or the monies to get the high-priced, connected lawyers and etc. to be able to go in there and say, wait a damn minute. Right. Let's find the real person who cut what. All right? Let's find out where was this girl, where was she at, what was she doing, where was going on, what's happening here. But they don't close it out, sentence them, and then 27 years later talking about they were innocent? That crap got to stop. Oh, damn, 27 years, 32 years. All the stuff we hear about now. That the innocence programs going in after serving all the life is gone. Right. I lost a certain amount of years of my youth because of false accusations, and they knew it. Right. But just to close the case out and get it off the books, let them figure it out later. Knowing that you weren't guilty of nothing. When they lock you, no, you weren't guilty. But that was it. It started, so it didn't stop. And that's what they're talking about, police reform and etc. But it's a whole society reform need to be that when it happens, you say, oh, That's well. But here, white women took out. Did they bring out the U.S. Marines yet to go find that guy? I mean, they had everybody out there: U.S. Marines, the Navy, the SEALs. The British. The British probably came over, and they might have asked, what's that Chinese guy who's shooting up rockets, threatening he's got an atomic bomb? What's his name over there?
Oh, North Korea.
North Korea. They probably asked him for assistance. What the hell? I mean, I hate to say it like that, but and people looking at us, wait a minute. Now, this girl's life is lost. This is not right. But this is some kind of domestic thing, and etc. And what have you? And you had the boy in his hand. I mean, how can he? You had clear record. He's with her, and he comes back without her.
Right. With her van.
And then you don't hear about her no more.
Her car.
You mean he's a person of interest?
I didn't make him disappear.
He's a person of interest. He's supposed to at least have one of those new finagled things they put on your ankle.
Well, even when he was out, when the police stopped him, and she said, well, I hit him, and they said, okay, y'all separate for the night.
Yeah.
It gotta have been you and me.
Oh, separate. You even separate for the night in a prison cell, and charge all kinds of daggone charges just to be doing it. So again, injustice. And I hope somebody hearing this, maybe I don't know these boys' family there, but can get to them and really give them some real defense. Give them some real lawyers that can help them, because again, this is close to me because I experienced it, and it messed up my brother's life. My brother was proud of his working and his finally got his own apartment. He was just so proud of having just work, and we all work. We always a family work. He was so proud of that, and he spent that time in that detention center like that for nothing he did not do, and thought it was going to be easy because people can say, no, he wasn't. The time you're talking about, this man was on a work job here. He was working overtime, all kind of stuff because he wanted to get his own, and then do that to you, and then dismiss the case against you, but then say we do it, we'll drop it, but as long as you don't sue. I mean, how many of us how many is that? Even the current Eric Adams, who's running for the office of mayor, he speaks about the same thing happened to him, I think, and his brother. As to why he went into the police department. Because that same daggone situation. So this is not right. But they don't care. They say, well, we're going to send out, like I said, they got my North Korean guy to send over, he stopped making missiles for a minute and had him send over some people to help with the investigation. And then the media, how hypocritical they are, how diabolical they are. They put it on TV waiting to make the next movie. And a girl done lost her life for whatever the situation is. Her life is gone. Family ain't thinking about family. The daughter's gone. Mama's crying, daughter's gone. Over something with some boy that they probably told her don't do. They probably told her, listen, you shouldn't be doing this, but this, I'm free, and I got my rights and so forth. And this happened. And we have no idea of the young lady who got killed or something up on Morningside, as you say, come from Columbia University or something, coming here from some rural area that she lived in and coming to this big old city, and we're having this roam in the streets out here. Not that nobody got no business mess with nobody. But whether these young boys who they locked up are they really the ones? I doubt it. I doubt it. And particularly when they're saying using one against the other one to say, oh no, we were going to rob her, but ain't nothing about no knife. He had it. Right. Oh no, wait a minute. That's typical. That's typical setup. Right. And if they got no money, they got no way, and nobody what's name to stand up and for them who got the courage to say no. Let me unlock all this documentation y'all got on this, and take your butt back out there and find the real person who did this. Yeah, shame, man, but we went past the hour. Sure. But thank you. So inshallah, well, we've been with you a little longer than we expected to today, but praise be to God. We're glad Tyreek is back with us and having his interesting questions that half the time I can't answer, but that's okay. I give my best shot at it, and the world concerned. So praise be to God. We thank God always. We praise God. God is so merciful to all of his humanity, and God in his mercy is what we look for. And we pray, God, that our world become a better world and the human beings become more human beings as they should be. And pray to God that Our intention here in sharing on the Thinker Radio Magazine is to give good and nothing but good, and to express it from the best of our soul, our spirit, under the influence of Al-Islam, our religion. We ask you to forgive our errors and our mistakes and what have you, and to hopefully what we share with you help you in some way to have a more productive life for yourself. So with that, we thank you. We look to the next time we meet, and ask God to bless you, your families, to God to bless your neighborhoods, and to bless our city and our country and the world of human beings to take on a better disposition in obedience to God and get the benefit of His mercy and His guidance. We thank you. May God's peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum.
You smile, I want you to smile. Positive changes. We need some positive changes. Thinking about some positive. Let us beware of false prophet, for they shall come in a sheep clothing, but beneath them are marvelous of wolves. So watch them green snake in a green grass. Why tell them say, some are vampires, some are hooligans, some are kleptomanians, some are idolaters, some are vampires, all are vampires, some are hooligans.